We're going to do a couple of jewelry projects today. Hopefully I can get these edited a little bit and get them on the YouTube so you can kind of see. I like to try and keep a few things going all the time. So today we're going to start learning to do some design work with our jewelry, and something that's years old, which was in the Black Hills of South Dakota, and they made tri-colored Black Hills gold. Now, I worked for a company up there for quite a few years. I even toured the factory. In fact, if it would have been possible, I think I would have worked for the factory itself. But I was an outside salesman, and I sold jewelry for 4 states. And I learned a lot about jewelry quality and jewelry making in those years that I did this. And not to mention that I went to school for it in Quincy, Illinois, clear back in the 1970s. So one of the first things you have to learn is designing. And to design something, a couple ways to do it. You can just kind of freelance it just as you're thinking it up, or you can sit down and draw it out on a piece of paper, and which is the best way, I think. It gives you a better idea of how you want it to look and present it as a piece of artwork that you want to sell. Today we're going to just make something that, like I said, was traditionally done with tri-colored gold, and there were some steps developed into it over the years, and which is wriggling cutting and bright cutting and tri-color mixing of golds. So to start with, we want to go ahead and make a little oval. Now you see this is just a pencil shaped oval on my sterling silver, and I just used a tin plate to do it. So I just basically drew a pattern. Now inside the pattern you're going to see that I did a leaf, and in the Black Hills gold this was commonly a grape leaf, so this sort of has the resemblance of a grape leaf. So I drew that inside the oval. Then I cut the oval out, which you'll see right there, and I filed it round. Now when you cut it, you want to stay on the very outside edge of your mark, and if you want, you can just use a scriber and do a scribe line on there. I generally use what I call Dykem blue, and then I just make a light scratch around that, and it shows up much better. So, but anyway, you can see where I cut the pattern here and got it pretty close. Then I just shaped the piece with a file and made it round. Now I drew inside of an oval this leaf, so I knew that it was going to fit in the oval I cut out here and there. So I actually drew the leaf, so I know that this leaf, when I cut it out, is going to actually fit in here, and it'll fit real nice because I actually drew it inside that oval circle. I'm sorry. Now I cut the first one out, and I think you can see it. This is the very first one I cut out. To match it, if you're going to do a pendant or in earrings, you're going to have to try and get these close but not the same. They're always going to be a little different, and that's part of designing and custom crafting. So when you're making stuff for sale, you're not looking for 100% commercial grade, the same thing every time as the big companies do. They generally refine their work, and they use die stamps, punch presses, and they stamp their pieces out after they've made them, so then they can make 100 leaves that all look the same. And I'm going to go and try and build a video on that to show you how that is all done. So stay tuned for that, because that's kind of an exciting video that I'm working on. It's going to take a while to get it done, but it involves using some grandkids and a few other things. But that video will teach you quite a bit about how the process is done, and then you can actually imitate that process. which is going to be kind of neat. So the next thing we're going to do is just cut this out. And since I already have one, now here's what I did. I cut the first leaf out. I used a little bit of hot glue, and I stuck the leaf down on top of the plate, and now it's stuck on there with hot glue. So now I can just kind of cut right around it, shape it all together, and then separate them and make another one if I want a third one. So we're gonna we'll get into that. We'll get this cut. Now you just always want to stay as tight into your cutting block as possible, and start with your saw blade clear like this, so that you get your teeth started. Then you can come straight up and down. So I'm gonna see if I can bring that video out just a little bit. So hold on here. Oh, wrong way. There we go. That. And you know what else would be nice? I kick on the lights. I'm going to actually make the earrings, and I might make the a pennant to go with this, but I'll make that just a little different, because it'll have to be a little bit bigger, I think. Okay, now put our silver aside, and we've made a couple rings or leaves, and don't look quite right, do they? So we'll shape them next, and to do that, I use a flex shaft, a motorized one. And we're going to have two leaves that are fairly close to each other. Now, Black Hills Gold Jewelry sells well in the central United States, Nebraska, Colorado, Lake of the Ozarks, and that area down there, Deadwood. I used to sell down there. Iowa does pretty well with it. I'm not sure how well it carries after that. Riddles has about 50-some stores, and they used to carry it in every one of their stores, but I don't think they do quite as much as they used to. Landstrom's was another beautiful Black Hills Gold factory. You could used to take a tour through there. In fact, I did, 40 years ago. So, just to see how it was all done. And it was just so interesting to see it. And of course I learned from that. Now, to get these apart, these little fellows, right there, we just take a torch and heat them up a little bit. And that burns off that glue. And we now have our little leaf patterns. Here's our oval that we cut. Well, let's see, you know what? I don't try to use my regular torches because I was trying to get you used to how to use one of these. These are not the easiest to use, but they're better than not having a torch. So I'm just going to heat this up a little bit. See the glue start to... Now, the problem is it's going to smoke your jewelry a little bit, but that's all right. It'll clean up. So. And we have our two pieces. And like I said, I'm not real concerned whether they're identical. I just want them close. That's kind of the part that's fun with doing this. Now you see we're starting to shape up here. Now these are going to be earrings, and I'm going to use, excuse me here, and I'll grab one. I'm going to use this style of earring right here. I don't know if you can see. Everything looks like it's, yeah, you can see it. Okay, I'm just moving along. So we're going to have a little piece in there. And I think we'll put some little grapes up around here, and maybe something down here at the bottom. I haven't really decided yet because I didn't draw this one out. We're just winging it. But I wanted to show you this Black Hill style of designing, because I think that your pieces will sell. And the more you learn how to do this, the more you're going to be able to sell it if you're into selling it. If you're just doing it for yourself, why, these will be beautiful little pieces for you too. So anyway, that's our start. So next thing we have to do is we're going to shape this just a little bit. Now I use a dapping block. I think that'll work about right here. And I use a dapping tool. So I'll show you how to do that. Now you can take a piece of oak wood and use a ball burr, and you can shape a little dip in a piece of oak wood, which is strong enough to do the same thing that I'm going to do with a dapping block. So don't rush right out and get one of these dapping blocks. Lots of ways to do this. You can actually make one out of steel and just shape it round. And if I get time, I'll show you how to do that. So now we got our shape of a curve, which I think gives that a little bit more professional look. So that's our next step. Now we're going to have to, oops, clean that up a little bit. You're not really going to see this, but I still want it a little bit cleaned up. Alright, got that done. So now we're going to see how well it looks on our piece. So now, bear with me. We're going to go to the soldering pad. So right there, we're going to put a little dab of solder here. I use silver paste solder. I generally buy it by the 3-penny weight. It's not real expensive. It's not real cheap, but I don't use chip solder very often, not silver. In some cases we will, but right now we're just going to use the simplest of tools and get things working the way we want it. So you see I believe I want to lower this into the dill, because it's going to be very hard to polish around this. In fact, we're not going to. We're going to wriggle cut to cover up and make a finish. And up here I think I'll put about 3 or 4 or 5 little grapes, just to give it a little bit of Black Hill style and help you sell your little piece. So keep following me, and we're going to learn how to do a lot of neat little things here, all in one lesson. Around those pliers, and I just come in here with my thumb right over the top, so that I can just keep it. And all I'm doing is just letting up on the pliers and making a total loop. Okay, then we want to cut that off right at the very edge, so we have about the same size every time. Okay, well, We'll make one more here. If we can get everything organized. Okay. Start at the very edge with your rounding pliers. Put your thumb right there. Turn, let loose, turn, let loose, and turn. There we go. And these are little bitty jump rings. Really need some better cutters than I've got. All right. Okay, now we have these little jump rings right here. We have, 1, 2, 3, 4, and I made 3 prior to that. And they're all about the same size. And that's what we wanted, uniformity. So now what we're going to do is we're going to mill them. We're just going to come right in here and make a little ball. We'll make a little ball, little ball, and a little ball. And all the balls are going to be just about the same size. So the next thing I want to do is put those little balls right up here on top of the piece we're working on. Whoops. Might have to put a little solder on those. What those represent are the grape leaves, and these are the little grapes. Now we could take a hammer and kind of flatten them too. That might be the way to do that, keep them from rolling around. Now, we'll go ahead and put some base solder on there and show you how to do that next, so that they stay put. Okay, we've got the leaf on, and we've kind of centered it where we want it. I did. I'll put a little paste solder in there. Let's see how well this is going to work. I'm working on the center of the leaf. You can see the paste solder is smoking just a little bit. Now I'm going to just double check. Now in the commercial making of this, something like this, they'd use a tacking machine, and they'd tack the leaf so that it doesn't move while they solder it. Then they use a soldering oven. Okay, it's all melting. And we should probably pickle this now, but I just want to make sure all that solder pulled underneath. And here's our leaf, nicely soldered on. Now the next stage is we want to put those little grapes on. So we'll do that next. Hopefully. Okay, so to do that, let's go ahead and put some paste solder on there while it's still hot. And we'll put our little grape balls here that we made. Without them moving. Okay, you see the solder flowed? And that's what we were wanting. Now I'm thinking maybe we should make I think we'll just leave it alone. That looks pretty nice. They're not perfect in uniformity, but they're, you know, by making little jump rings and then melting them into little balls, all these little grapes that we shaped here all look pretty much the same. It's kind of a neat little way of doing it. It's a neat trick. So we're just about ready to clean this up a little bit, and then we're going to make a tool to do what I call wriggling cutting, and then we'll polish this beast up a little bit, and we'll be ready to make a second one. Just too close. So stay tuned. This is getting with the leaf, and I needed to bring that leaf down, so I actually had to take the whole thing apart, and we'll resolder it now. And there our solder flowed. Now all this doesn't matter because of the nature of how we're going to build this. So we got our little grapes that kind of melted together and clustered. So we'll see how they look now. Okay, let's melt them down and resolder them. And our little grapes are all back in line. And now we have enough room to drill our hole for our ear ring pad. So it was just a goof. I should have realized that I didn't have that leaf down far enough in the first place. So it's a good mistake to show you how to correct. I just had to unsolder everything and resolder it. So now I'm trying to think. I'm wondering if maybe another grape right here, maybe one on the top to give it a little more dimension. I don't know. What do you guys think? Okay, we'll leave it alone. So the next step is to drill that little hole. I used a special drill bit. This is called a Panther drill bit, and relatively not expensive until you go to replace them. I buy them by the set. Let's see if we can drill that next. Okay, our first tool we're going to make is a square graver, and it's 2.5 by 2.5 square hardened steel. You can buy hardened steel and do your own, and it doesn't necessarily have to be square, but we have to shape it into a point like that so we can do some bright cuts. So how you do that, or how I do it, is I drill about, this is 2.5 by 2.5, so I drill in about a 36, number 36 drill bit, and we're gonna, my hand fits like this, so I want that point to come in here like that. So I've drilled this, and you notice it won't go in there, so hopefully we can do this right the first time. Give it a try. Now you could use your regular torch, but I'm in a hurry here. I want to get this, see if we can get this made. You know what? I'm trying to teach you using one of these little hand torches. Maybe I should use one. Let's go ahead and click this flame up. And what we're doing is we're just heating the back end of this. We want to, that's going to take the temper out of it, but we don't care because we're not going to be using that. That's going to be buried into our engraver handle. We want to get that pretty hot. Normally I do this in a vise. In fact, I think, now that I think about it, I am going to do this in a vise. Wonder if I can focus you into that. I'll be right back. I got to thinking about it, and I think this is a safe way to be doing things, and I don't want to cause an accident on my behalf. So I've taken the square graver end, I've mounted it on the vise, and we're going to heat this end up here. And we've drilled a small hole into this to the handle, and we're going to drive that handle straight down on top. Now, I want it right on this V, so I got my hand in the back, so I about know where that's at. So we're going to turn this cherry red. That should be about enough. Easy does it. Easy peasy. So we're about just exactly how we want it. Right down to the point. Let that cool off for a second so that I don't temper the rest of it. And I'll show you the next one. Okay, we've got our piece all put together. We got all of our little solder joints in there. So the next thing we want to do is give it a little polish. This is one of the last steps we're going to do before we do our little decorations on the leaf, and then you will see this little baby come to life. And we're going to polish the back just as well, because this is, after all, an earring, and we want it to look kind of nice. Now, if you're using genuine silver, sterling silver or silver, and you have a stamp, you're legally capable of that. It's a legal deal to stamp it. Be sure it's sterling silver before you stamp it, though. I do have a stamp, but I don't know where it's at. Alright, got that done. So, the next thing I want to do is take the little torch that we got, this little fella right here, and this is shellac, and I just want it just bubbly. And we're going to put our piece in there. Now when that dries in a few seconds, you now can do some bright cuts and some regal cuts on your little piece of jewelry. Now I make these. What don't I make? I make these on my lathe, and they're kind of time consuming. They take a little bit of time to make. I don't know whether to sell these or not. I might list one on the deal, but they're really nice to work with. I was thinking about making a little slot here on the back side of this and putting a little handle here so you could work it this way, and I probably will do that. And then I'll show you how this was made. So meanwhile, I think we are pretty well soldered in there. Now we took these gravers and I ground them to a 45, and they are sharp and they are mirror polished. You have to have a mirror on there in order for this to work properly. Otherwise your cuts in your jewelry or your silver's not going to look very nice. So now I'm not sure if I can get in here the right distance. I'll have to see if I can move out a little bit. Oh. You start at one angle. A wriggle cut is actually done by going back and forth and apply a small amount of pressure with your hand. And for that you make the turns back and forth, the better the pattern will look. The shorter the turn, the more clumped the pattern looks. Yeah, that didn't work very well, but you'll get the idea when I do this. This is a lot of fun. This will make your little piece of jewelry pop, and it will sell. So be prepared to make a lot of these. So I'm just going to follow the outside. Oops, didn't quite get that in there tight enough. It's okay. Didn't hurt anything other than my pride. So we'll do it again. Oh, then I dropped it. We probably need to make that so it bubbles a little bit. Okay, I made my first cut. I'll let that set for a second off the video, and then we'll continue. So we can kind of get started here now. I'm sitting here looking up and looking down, trying to figure out whether you can see this or not, because this is really, really important. You don't have to push hard. You want to try and stay within each line. Hope you can see this. Now they have commercial machines that do this, but I don't think the wriggling looks as nice. Alright, our leaf is now wrinkle cutted. So I'll come in I'll bring her in for you. See if you can see that. I knew I was going to go too far. Wish this camera had a micro lens on it. Well, I think you see the idea. It's such a simple process. You just back and forth, just like that, and apply a very, you can almost use your palm to make that work. Now, this is shellac, so it's not going to work very well, but if I go really light, and you'll hear a little click, 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 click. That means you're getting all the way across. And that's how you're doing it. So you can almost see, man, this really sets off your leaf. So the next step is to do a bright cut down the center, and that's done with a pointed graver. So I'll get that one out next, and we'll go through this and do the final part of this to be the final bright cut. Okay, you take your pointed graver and it's polished to a mirror so that you get a bright looking cut, and you just cut right across the wrinkle cuts. Whoops. That's why you want to get that hand out of the way. And you make 3 cuts down the leaf. What's really beautiful about this whole process of Black Hills Gold style of making jewelry is that no 2 leaves will ever be the same if you do the hand custom. Okay, so we're going to go on the other side, do the same thing. And there's your piece. Hope you can see those bright cuts in there. But that's how that's done. Now, we don't want to disturb the silver in its finished look. And I think actually if when this tarnishes a little bit, and this is not Starlum silver, so it will tarnish. You just pop it out. And let's do a little bit of finishing work on this thing. Now you could make this into a pendant just by putting a jump ring on it and then a chain. And I think I'll go ahead and make a couple of these. Okay. Outside, maybe we'll throw in the cleaner. I really like the tarnish look behind around the leaf. It is gorgeous, really. Now we could actually silver plate this, and I might go ahead and teach you how to silver plate. It really isn't that hard, and it's not that dangerous. You just have to be sure your chemicals are out of the reach of your children. It's not forgiving. So, but this is a nice, beautiful little set of earrings, and or pendant, or a tri-set. And it's all done in sterling silver and no colors of tricolors. But the bright cut on the piece really adds character to it. So I hope you enjoyed this lesson on what we're doing here with jewelry, because we're going to do a lot of this and we're going to get good at it. So we want to, I'm telling you, this jewelry should sell for you, hands down. So hope you enjoyed this lesson, and I truly enjoy making these videos for everyone. So if you're a beginner or an intermediate, this was probably in the intermediate rather than the beginner, and I'd say maybe on a scale of 1 to 5, maybe a 5. I mean, I'm sorry, 1 to 10, maybe a 5. So it had a degree of difficulty. Making your tools is one of the things that we're going to go into next, and I think I'll just devote a whole series on it. But you can get these gravers on my website at mybenchjeweler.com, and I'll show you how to get them polished, ready to go. So hope you enjoyed this again, and happy Easter, everyone.